Alright, check. You should be able to hear me. I'm not actually getting anything in these headphones, but it says it's registering some audio, so I'm hopeful that you can actually hear this. And I guess today really all I wanted to do is come on and give you an update. It's the Equinox. It's close to midnight here Mountain Time. So certain people are already like into the 23rd of, September, but got about 20 minutes here left. Man, it's been a long week, but a very wonderful week, and very grateful. Just got back from Yin on Fire. It was a festival second year episode down in Cedar City, Utah, and I just want to give them a massive shout out. Got my hat here from it, a little meditative dude, and it's my favorite colors, and yeah, I just wanted to kind of discuss the process still, maybe do a little bit of reading, and just kind of skip in on different things about this weekend and how I prefer to kind of pursue the next challenge, right? So I did start the Inn on Fire this weekend. It's again, like I said, down southern Utah, and we started with a cacao ceremony, just amongst people to kind of like harmonize root energy to earth. And then the whole festival is like alcohol free, really beautiful ceremonies all over the place, opportunities for growth, workshops, a lot of leisure opportunities, but at the same time, like the intentions were just so beautiful behind the whole thing. So there's yin and yang, and so this is more of a feminine type of energy rising intention. However, here in the second year, what was really amazing as a man getting invited to this was also seeing the this new like masculine energy kind of softening, I suppose, or like coming to this miraculous opportunity for us to as men to kind of like just listen to each other, I guess, as well, and soften around the nature of the feminine energy, and just kind of like disclose a lot of difference, between what we think is real and what's actually happening. So it was quite an amazing thing. I picked up quite a few little trinkets throughout. Like I said, I picked up some ceremonial cacao for future reference. I got returned a book, which was amazing. A book I've definitely lent out. I like to lend out books, and just for reference. And that was returned to me on return from my journey today. One of the workshops I did was like sacred geometry here. So learning how to use sacred geometry to actually illustrate the yin and yang, for example, by using the protractor and compass, so mapping shapes into intentions and so forth. It was really cool here on the front too, where sacred geometry literally represents is sound that you can see, right? So it's matching, it's like a harmonizing opportunity for us to really, when we see sacred geometry or recognize patterns in the world, it's to calibrate, I suppose. So I did this interesting exercise too, which I found really interesting, especially when you're in the middle of like a ceremonial exercise. It was like, the first thing is to calibrate, right? So I'm sitting there, I didn't have my glasses on. I had been mostly like trying to not have my phone, check in with the world every night, but at the same time, like really try to immerse or be immersed in the experience of going again to Yin on Fire, meeting soul family reunions and people like tribe, like minds. So to calibrate in the sacred geometry, they usually like you start at the center point, right? And everything comes from like bing, right here, center, right? So let's just pretend like on the page, this is center. So the best way to indicate where, if I'm centered, is we fold the paper in half one way, right? And then again the other way, this way. So we got a quadrant of a paper, and I guess it'd probably be more helpful if I actually just showed you. But basically, you fold paper like this. So into the center of it. And so that you can find where true center was. So when we did the eye test, right, to find the center, to see how close we can get to that. So I just want to, I mean, I'm not going to toot my own horn too much here, but it's like pretty amazing how close I got on the first go. So here was my first page. Let's see what side I was on. Yeah. So first we were going over like the basics. There's like basically 15 different shapes that we were studying, or the symbols of sacred geometry. This was definitely one of my favorite workshops. So before folding it, there's the main dot, right? The actual center. You can actually see a hole in it where I actually stuck everything through. Right here where my finger is off of center is where the other dot was. So I know it's kind of hard to get spatial awareness when I'm just showing you a piece of paper over a video camera. However, I'm literally, let's just see, I've got a ruler here. I was perfect dead on, up, down, like the 11-inch thing, so I was able to get 5.5 inches right on the dot, top to bottom. But the 8.5 inches side to side of the page was off by a 1/4 inch. No, not even a 1/4 inch. 2/16, 1/8. 1/8. So if I'm calibrating to 1/8 of an inch by just eye awareness without my glasses, obviously like these glasses too are more for my nearsighted. I can see right here, but when I'm wearing glasses all day, I take this off and everything kind of becomes blurry even on the screen right now. So that's like kind of the interesting thing when we calibrate to it and start understanding sacred geometries, learning how to draw and follow patterns and shapes so that we can better understand like the definitions behind such shapes like yin and yang, and you know well, let me just break them down for you, with the exception of one. I won't iterate here on the channel, but you know, you got flower of life. I'll just bring the 2 ones that we illustrated as well. So finding the flower of life within, you know, all this. So how does this understand? And we got to study this quite a bit more, what these shapes really mean, tree of life, sorry. And then what you're also looking at is like, here's the fruit of life. I know I've got black shaping here on the back, but if you can see that, I don't know. It's literally just learning how to dimensionally shape everything so that it means something in the long run and kind of matches a sacred intention or a base truth. There's a lot of things, you know, in the world that they're not natural anymore. They've been distorted and undistinguishable. However, if things are grown naturally over time and so forth, it's a brilliant blessing to kind of receive more enlightenment. And what is enlightenment? It's just like a diligence in practice, I suppose, to just yearning. It's living by impulse, but not just by reactionary impulses, but by like true instinctual interests and creativities, exposures, and you know, a deeper, more meaningful understanding of those things. So obviously there's a lot more that I could get into. There's a whole workload as far as Yin on Fire, and I really just want to bring that up because as many blessings as were received at the second year of Yin on Fire, it was communicated to me at the conclusion of it too that there is like a setback financially on them as far as what they brought to the table. And this is what happens with any business in the younger stages of the development. You know, with great intention, sometimes we over exceed or underestimate the cost to achieve something great. And what I witnessed today, this morning, in leaving that location was beautiful. And if there's anything I can do is just hope and pray that, you know, others out there might be called to do this type of exercise. So just look up Yin on Fire moving forward. Thank you. I might circle back to this at a future date. I'm not certain. However, right now I'm just kind of needing to take a break because we're in Equinox, right? Today is a beautiful time to end. Like it started, they were setting up during an eclipse, so, moon energy eclipse somewhere on Monday or Tuesday. And there's a lot of sacred opportunities for us to walk through what was a labyrinth, for example, in the sacred space. And of course, in these types of orientations and communities of fellowship, it was quite beautiful how every certain individual had their own different type of approach to understanding the same divine truth, and being able to assist in certain capacities where I could, and also mostly receive, right, what they had to offer. And it just becomes like this amazing opportunity. So there's a labyrinth with a nature walk where you literally just kind of like follow your instincts, pick up the little pieces along the way that find that yourself interested in, and get to this space of meditation at like a 7/8 pace through. I did do the labyrinth twice. I met a couple great individuals. I literally met so many people I don't know or remember so many people's names, but off the top, obviously Amber, the one who was on here on the channel, did the interview. She brought it up to me. The universe kind of allowed me to go in there by the way that I do my thing, my workshop, toward allowing certain things to happen or to just keep on my own path. But this was something that opened up to me within the last 2 weeks, to where I was able to actually go. So thank you first and foremost to Amber and her friend Ian, which was the first workshop I did, which was their sound bath with sacred smoke. Okay. So that's like my send-off after the cacao ceremony, essentially, day one. And obviously I came in late the first night, so there was some talks and things that I calibrated into the environment. But obviously when you enter an environment, everything's new and a little bit off-putting in certain elements, just because I'm going from like here, my safe space in my living room where I know how to do what I do and literally live within the dynamics that I've created for myself. However, when I step out of that into this other big world with all these other creators and healers and beautiful thoughts are just ever present, at first there's always like, can you do it? Are you going to settle in? And I just settled in really well and easy because there was just that little bit of familiarity with those two individuals. And then, of course, we've got a woman named Christina who we did the nature walk in the long run. We had a couple yoga instructors that I met. So one's on the rise, very young, just studiously. And then the other one that's already set, present, ready to start their business, kind of branching and building these blocks between these individuals so that hopefully they can connect too. But obviously I don't even need to necessarily involve myself in that process. Sometimes I just need to observe that that's what's actually happening there. And that was the beauty of it. There was an oasis, so I did the big slide. I went off the big slide. Again, calibration. I got in the water that nobody else was in. Everybody's too cold, but it's a hot day, so pick your poison. Pick your harsh. So I didn't want to suffer under the sun. I definitely picked up a lot of sun this weekend, but we were blessed with a little bit of rain, quite a bit of water and coverage. Like, dark clouds came through for like a couple hours, but other than that, it was more of a refreshing cleansing. So that the midday of Saturday, I really got to enjoy that oasis pond on fire, following some men's groups. So I concluded my Friday with a men's part one workshop with a man named Paul and one of the leaders named David and another Fernando. And those men, congrats to all the beautiful work that they did for some certain men and probably all of us communally. However, I moved to that to start on Saturday as well. But enough about kind of yin on fire. It's like coming back to this equinox energy. It concludes today, literally upon that timing of the equinox and what's happening astrologically, whether or not we understand it or how that interacts. Each individual kind of has their own birth natal opportunity to understand that. However, equinox is signified by this opportunity to start to shift, right? From this axis of summer, the 4 seasons, into fall, okay? So what does that mean? That means that we've kind of set a stage, we kind of know what to expect, but the dial of itself is kind of literally set very consistently. Another thing I was able to do this weekend, strangely enough, was not having my phone, not really having a calibration to time necessarily. There was a lot of order, to the day's layout, so that also did help. However, kind of just reading the sun as a dial, and I numerous times was able to, what time is it? And without watch, like I think I said 4:10, and it was 4:05 when we checked. So probably 4:04 when I said it, but 4:05, 4:04, and it was 4:10. So being 5 minutes off relative to a full 24-hour cycle, obviously within an hour, so that's pretty decent calibration, 1/20th on time, just based on sun. And that's what helps, is when we get to that the equinox in the springs or the fall, that's what's amazing. And because they're the midpoint between solstice, solstice summer, longest day of the year, solstice winter, shortest day of the year. So now we're really halfway point to it. Very shortly is going to be a time change, all these opportunities for growth and coming kind of more inward, right? Summer is all about this external thing, and really ceremonially, this was an amazing experience for me to receive and calibrate all the way through, the chakra energy. What I do as far as meditation and learning how to know more opportunities to go deeper into this channel of understanding, if that makes sense. The most beautiful part for me personally was the being face to face with so many people of like mind, but moreover also just seeing how impactful certain individuals on the actual ground, And that's always going to be one of my favorite things to lean in on. I was able to get some body work done by a woman named Crystal. I was able to stare a woman named Angel in the eyes at the conclusion of a men's group, just like angelic eyes, and seeing just pure oneness, very much centered, needed that feminine energy literally coming into all these men. I was able to meet a woman named Chanel who does some amazing work. I'll be looking to reach out to her as well, and actually hopefully ordering some sweaters to be made. And just, it was an overload in so many ways. I can't tell you how many headstands I did. I can't tell you how many times I did yoga practices. I can't tell you how many meditations I did, because it was just like rampant. Bam, bam, bam. One after the other. And that was just awesome, because I don't get opportunities like that. Otherwise, most of the time I'm just sitting here. So I'm going to take this last couple minutes just to read where I just happened to place a book was returned to me today. I just so happened, this is how it works for me. I'll just put my marker in on a page, and that kind of operates as where I'm going to go next. This is the Vitality, Energy, and Spirit, a Taoist source book, translated by and edited by Thomas Cleary. It's one of the Shambhala classics. It's based on Taoism. And if you want more base knowledge about Taoism, the best is going to be Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu. So that's your reference point prior to maybe something like this. And this is just a collection of a whole lot of different stories. So I'm going to pick one out of here. This is Tales of Inner Meaning. And I read one just a little bit ago. It's called The Learned Man. Or it's basically this difference that Confucius is observing these two individuals having an argument about how to distinguish whether or not the sun is closer in the early part of the day or at midday. And one says, let's see. The one boy says it appears larger at dawn and smaller at noon, so it must be closer at dawn and farther away at noon. However, the other boy argues that it was cool at dawn and hot at noon, so the sun must be farther away at dawn and closer at noon. So, all in this timescape of observing the sun rising, does what does he say? He says Confucius was at a loss to determine which one was correct. The boys jeered at him and said, "Who said you were so smart?" So it's just an interesting thing. These just make you think. That's the amazing thing. So I'm going to find a random one within this chapter that's hopefully not too long. We can kind of go into something that might pop out to me in this chapter. There is quite a few lead-ins and then a full section, so I think I'll just read the full section as opposed to the little introduction meetings. There's like the golden butterflies, and there's the ailment, the story of Wan Bao Chang, forgetfulness, and so forth and so forth. Ups and downs, who for whom, suspicion, the poor man and the gold. That would be a good one. But let me get to the end of this, and we'll start the story of J.A.C.K. J.A.C.K. was styled one who had penetrated the subtle. He was a brilliant man, yet simple and straightforward, modest and prudent in his speech and behavior. He was known for taking care of his parents well in their old age, and was highly respected in his community. When he was young, he became the student of one of those beyond convention. At the age of 13, he was ordained as a Taoist priest, and at the age of 15 received an esoteric symbol of a method for cultivating reality. According to his own account, once when he was reading Taoist books, he came across a prescription for eating pine sap and decided to climb 100-fathom mountains with a Taoist colleague to gather some sap. Obviously, my throat's struggling a bit, so bear with me. This mountain was very steep and high, and from its peak one had a view of all four directions. At night, the two Taoists rested under the pines on the summit of the mountain. The sky was clear, the moon was bright. Suddenly they heard immortal music coming from Purple Cloud Mountain to the southeast, far, far away, slowly passing Stone and Metal Mountain, which was the same height as 100 Fathoms Mountain, and through 10 miles away on the surface of the earth, seemed very close from peak to peak. When they heard the immortal music reach them, it stopped a while. Then there were 3 beats of a small drum, boom, 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 and a whole orchestra was clearly heard to play again. Though percussion instruments kept a beat, it was impossible to determine the melody. The sounds were high and clear, not like the music of the human world. It continued from midnight until dawn, finally stopping at cockcrow. Later they heard from the villagers who lived at the foot of the mountain that they had all heard it. Nia's colleague said, "When we were gathering mystic medicine, we suddenly heard immortal music. This must mean that our intentions have been felt in the other world. I also regard it as a sign that you will attain the Tao." After that, Nia traveled around, then went to Nanyu, the southern holy mountain, where he prostrated himself before the altars of jade purity and blue jade of the heaven of light. Subsequently, he stayed at the immortal summoning observatory and entered the wellspring of the spirit of open clarity. Now it was springtime, and he heard that the old hermitage of real human, I don't know how to say this, it kind of says to the side it's Kai, but it's spelled T-S, what is that, apostrophe A-I, Kai, Sky, I don't know, a famous adept of centuries past, was not far away. He also heard there were strange flowers and trees around there, and that woodcutters sometimes raw real humans, Kai. J.A.C.K. delighted at the prospect of possibly getting to see real human Kai, fasted for 7 days to purify himself, then rose early one morning and went alone into the mountains. As he went along, he smelled an unusual floral fragrance. Before he realized it, it was already evening, and he found himself by a large valley stream. He saw a woodcutter sitting on the sand, facing the water. Nia quickened his steps, heading over toward the woodcutter, who now picked up his bundle and began to go down the valley. The woodcutter turned around and looked at Nia, then put his bundle back down and asked, "Where are you going all alone?" Nia replied, "I'm doing my best to learn the Tao and find the immortals. I've heard real human Kai is hidden in these mountains, and I just want to meet him once." The woodcutter said, "Master Kai's abode is extremely deep. People can't go there." Nia said, "I've already come this far, climbing vines up cliffs. If there are mountains to cross, what does distance matter?" The woodcutter said, "Anyway, it's getting late, almost nightfall. For now, go past this mountain, and to the east you'll find a home where you can stay." Nia wanted to go along with the woodcutter, but the woodcutter quickly stepped into the stream. It seemed quite shallow when the woodcutter walked in, but the moment Nia stepped in the stream turned out to be extremely deep, with a swift current, so Nia did not dare try to wade across. The woodcutter said, "You'll be able to cross this stream 50 years from now." Nia watched as the woodcutter walked across the water and disappeared out of sight on the farther shore. Nia then went several miles around the mountain and saw in the distance a rustic cottage with a fenced yard, chickens, and dogs. Approaching nearer, he saw a pale man who looked like a farmer, about 30 years old, living alone. When this man saw Nia, he thought it very odd that anyone would be traveling alone deep in the mountains. Suddenly, he said, quote, "The troubles of the family come out together. Who is in charge?" And he asked Nia, "Where are you going?" Nia said, "I'm looking for the hermitage of real human Kai." The man said, "Did you see a woodcutter on the way here?" Nia said that he had. And the man said, "That was the Taoist adept Kai, who just passed by." When Nia heard this, he prostrated himself in prayer and said, "When an ordinary ignoramus meets an immortal sage and does not recognize him, that too is in the order of things." It was already nightfall, and the mountain forest was pitch black. Nia had no place to stay. The man asked him, "Where do you come from?" In reply, Nia told him of his beginnings and his journey in search of reality. Then the man allowed him into the house and even had him sit on the platform near the fireplace. The man said, "I happen to be out of provisions here in the mountains." Nia said, "I've been fasting a long time and I'm not hungry." He saw beside the fire a kettle of hot water and several covered yellow porcelain bowls. The host said, "You can drink what's in the bowls. Feel free to take what you want." Nia then took the cover off one of the bowls and found that there was tea in it. The host told him to pour hot water on it and drink. Drinking the tea, Nia found that its energy and savor were far different from ordinary tea, and after a time he again wanted some tea and went to take the cover off another bowl, but found that he could not do so. He tried all the bowls, but found that he could not uncover any of them, realizing with some diffidence that this was not an ordinary villager's house. He did not dare say anything. The host, who slept in another room, did not get up the next morning, even though the sun was high in the sky and there was no fire in the hearth. In his sleep, the host said, "In this solitary and desolate place, suddenly I am concerned that I have nothing to offer you. There are a lot of homes in the village up ahead. You should go there." Nia went a couple of miles, but didn't see any houses, nothing but cliffs and defiles. And when he turned around and looked back, he found that he had lost the way to where he had stayed the night. He went about 10 miles when he suddenly saw an old man. Nia and the old man sat on a flat rock to talk, and the old man told him all that had happened. The old man said, "Master Kai and his son both hide in these mountains. Last night you stayed with his son." The old man also told Nia, "You have a rich air of the Tao about you, but your immortal bones are not yet complete. You will starve and thirst in the mountains. How can you stay here long?" Then the old man suddenly broke off a stalk of a plant and handed it to Nia. It was shaped like a ginger sprout and was over a foot long. Nia chewed it and found it sweet and delicious. The old man also had him drink some spring water. And when Nia raised his head after drinking from the spring, he found the old man had already disappeared. Now Nia was very disappointed, but after having taken the tea and eaten the herb, he felt stronger and lighter than when he had come. He wanted to follow the mountain trail to look for a place to stay, but the trail was already covered and blocked by brambles and vines, impossible to get through. So Nia returned to the Immortal Summoning Observatory, where the Taoist priests were exclaimed with surprise, "This observatory is near the spiritual crags, but there are many poisonous creatures and wild beasts, so people are rarely able to go alone. We were wondering why you suddenly left over a month ago, and we've been worrying about you for a long time." Nia said, "I just left yesterday and only stayed overnight." He then told all about seeing the woodcutter, the cottage where he spent the night, and also about meeting the old man. The priests were impressed. They said, "While we have been living in this observatory, we have just been studying Taoism. We knew of the existence of real human Kai, but haven't had any opportunities to see him. You must have the Tao in you already, because you've now seen both Master Kai and his son. And as for the old man, in the past, it has been said that real human Peng also is hidden in these mountains. Maybe the old man was this Master Peng. As soon as you go into the mountains, you meet 3 immortals and spend a day and a night there that is over a month long in the human world. In reality, this is what accumulated practice has led you to." Nia himself was amazed. He stayed at Immortal Summoning Observatory for years. Later, he decided to return to his native place because his parents were getting old. He went back to the mountain hermitage near his home, where he had stayed as a youth. And when he went into the mountains to gather firewood and herbs, if he ran into tigers or leopards, when they saw Nia, they would let their ears droop and wag their tails, crouching down to the ground. Nia would pet and talk to them, and they would get up and follow him. Sometimes he would fasten kindling or herbs on their backs, and they would carry it home for him and then leave. There are many similar examples of how people of the way could influence wild animals. And there was a mountain nearby where Nia lived that was notorious for being inhabited by many fierce animals that didn't harm people. This was attributed to Nia's influence. His parents asked him how he had benefited from his traveling studies, and he told them the whole story. His parents were very happy because not only did they receive his care on the ordinary plane, they were also enriched by the all-embracing Tao through him. They considered themselves very fortunate to be the parents of Nia. Later he went traveling again, having heard that real human Mai, M-E-I, and administrator Siao, S-I-A-O, were hiding on Jade Tube Mountain. It's almost to the end, guys. We're on quite a journey here. And that many people of the time had seen them. Mai was Mai Fu, and had been an official. Xiao was a prince of the Liang dynasty, or 6th century. Xiao Tzu Yun, when the governor of their district fled the rebellion of the infamous Hu Qing. Whole families went into the mountains, and these two had both attained the Tao here. Nia, staying for a while at the Observatory of Pure Space on Jade Tube Mountain, wanted to look for Mia and Xiao, and he made a special trip in hopes of seeing them. He set off with determination and went very deep into the mountains. Suddenly he saw a man dressed in muslin, with a black silk cap. By his face, he appeared to be about 50 years old. Nia paid his respects to this man and asked him who he was. At first, the man said he was a worker and asked Nia where he was going. Nia told him he was looking for Mia and Xiao. The worker said, "We have heard you are very diligent in your quest for the Tao, traveling to all the famous mountains. This is not easy at all. If you want to see those two masters, I can take you there. Your past deeds are very pure, already worthy of a name on the Jade Register. Though you will not go on the ultimate flight right away, you will still cross over the world." The workman also said, "I am Xia Tung Xiu, or Shi Tang Shu." I don't know how good I am with my words, but I'd love some feedback on reading those different languages. "You may not know me, so I introduce myself. I have been living in seclusion in the mountains with the immortals Bang and J.A.C.K for 300 years now. I know you have traveled to the Spring of Clear Awareness. I happen to have been ordered by the Master of the Eastern Flower to take charge of the mountain, forest, and earth immortals on Jade Tube Mountain, and am also in charge of the sanctuary shrines of the Observatory of Pure Space. So you and I have a spiritual connection already. That is why we have been able to meet. As for Master Mia and Master Xiao, during the day they were called by the King of the Heaven of Little Existence, and I doubt that they will be back soon, so there is no use in waiting for them." Nia now bowed respectfully and said, "Mortals in the ordinary world search for the Tao in the wrong way, freezing their spirits and concentrating their thoughts from morning to night without yet knowing the essential wonder. They are like people adrift in a shoreless ocean. This unexpected meeting with you today is really a rare bit of good luck for me, as I have gotten to see a master of the Tao. I don't know how to do this again. Dong Xiu said, "Your sincere devotion is very touching. You haven't finished your tasks in the world, so I am going to show you a way out of the mountains. We'll go where I stay." Nia followed Tung Xiu for a couple of miles when suddenly he saw a 2-room reed house, very new and clean. Inside were low platform seats and a little kettle over a fire, with water boiling in it. It looked like a scholar's studio with no one there. Tung Xiu had Nia come in and sit on a wooden horse, while Tung Xiu himself sat on a white stone deer. Suddenly a child came in and gave Nia a cup of hot water. When he drank it, Nia felt very clear and refreshed. Tung Xiu also had him take a book from the shelf. He said, "This is the basic book. Be diligent in learning it, and you will attain the essence of reality." Nia wanted to stay there and learn from Tung Xiu, but before he said anything, Tung Xiu, aware of what Nia was thinking, said, "You have parents who are getting old, and though you have an older brother who can take care of them, I cannot tell you to stay, in case you may want to travel to study more. I have a disciple living on a certain mountain. If you go see him, give him a message for me, and also show him the basic book. Then you will be able to find out what it means. If you don't see him, just throw the basic book in the cave above a certain ravine, and scratch my message on a rock there. Then my disciple will teach you the essential way himself." After he had said this much, Tung Xiu sent Nia back. All of a sudden, Nia found that Tung Xiu had disappeared, and he himself was near the place he had started from. He went back to the Observatory of Pure Space, where the Taoist priest said in astonishment that he had been gone for 7 days. Where did he go? Here's our conclusion. Nia told them the whole story, and 2 of the priests were so excited that they begged to go back with him. They did go, and when they reached the place where Nia had been, the rock formations and vegetation were as he had seen them, but they could not find the reed house. They looked around all day in dismay and finally returned to the observatory. Anyway, Nia had the basic book, which was written in readable characters, telling about the true secret of the esoteric essentials used by the Queen Mother of the Celestial Court to order and educate the community of immortals. When those immortals put into practice, they should attain the ability to ascend to heaven. When mortals in the world receive it, while on earth, they participate in the inner government. There were some points, however, whose meaning eluded him, so he later went to the Observatory of Reality and stayed there for a month, looking for traces of Tia Tung Xiu's disciple. Some people said there was a hermit who lived around the ravine Tung Xiu had mentioned, but no one knew his name, though sometimes people saw him. Nia went into the mountains time and time again looking for him, but did not see him. At length he did as Tung Xiu had told him, throwing the book into the cave and scratching the message on a rock face. After that, he dreamed that a spiritual man named Purple Sacred Mushroom, the disciple of Tung Xiu, taught him in such a way that his mental blocks melted away. Then he awoke. A year more later, he again returned to his original hermitage on the mountain near his hometown and lived there for over 20 years. He regarded the real humans, Kai, Peng, and Xia, as his occult mentors and personally oversaw the collection of tales about these immortals from among the Taoist priests and the general populace. Eventually, Nia Shi Tao was recognized as the Taoist adept of great powers, respected by all. His prayers were always answered, and he had over 500 disciples, at least 15 of whom also attained adepthood and graced the mystic school. People came from all around to study with him, and he taught them according to their natures and perceptions. I'm going to stop there. The conclusion is just a factual declaration. I'm going to leave that unwritten. Thank you so much for allowing me to read, for listening, encouragement, shout outs to everybody who has been there to support, for the eternal clock of feedback and loops that I have become much more inclined to understand, including the seed of life, understanding the patterns of the tree of life within the flower. Doing my utmost to stay present-minded and follow what we're literally speaking on here by learning the Tao by practical application as opposed to declaration of a destination. Everything me has meaning. I don't hesitate to tell you that these tales of inner meaning that are outlined in books of this nature certainly are a key to unlocking what I've come to understand, and I certainly hope this is helpful, above all, to anybody moving forward in their pursuits, also to understand their truth, their gifts, and learning how to share those best. Anyhow, namaste. It's been a blessed weekend. I've got a lot of things I got to get in order for the weeks moving forward, and just kind of getting back in the groove. Peace be with you all. And one last thing. There's a donation. If you go on yinonfire.com and are looking for a ticket, do so. And please place, they're doing it a little different going forward, and I guess I'll probably have to circle back on this, but Yin on Fire is an amazing, blessed opportunity, and if there is any support for that financially, buying a ticket in advance for the 2025 season would be quite incredible to just see anything. So if there is any donation process, I think I can hear somewhere on the channel there is an ability to donate. So I'll just throw that out there as a breadcrumb.